everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name's Joni Young if you're new here, and thanks so much for joining me today for this beautiful winter landscape painting tutorial. I'm working on an 11 by 14 canvas. It's been stretched and double primed. I'm going to go over the colors with you guys right now. I pre-painted an older canvas just with black and white to make a slate gray color, and I've got titanium white, neon yellow cool, neon orange, light blue violet, dioxazine purple, and burnt sienna. So here are the neon colors I'm using, and I'll have a full list of all the colors below this video as well in the description box. Okay, so I'm going to just show you guys some of the brands of paints I'm using because I get that asked quite frequently. I enjoy using Liquitex Basics acrylics, and I do recommend them. They're very reasonably priced, and I've got my burnt sienna there, which is golden acrylics, but I was just gifted some golden acrylics. You don't have to go out and buy them. They are more pricey. They're beautiful paints, but you can use any brand of paint that you like or that you have. These are just what I use and what I like to recommend to all my students. I'm starting with my number 30 filbert brush, and I had it a little bit wet to start, and I dabbed off any drips. Of course, you just want a little bit of moisture in your brush to help release the paint and be able to create those brush strokes and blend your paint across the canvas. Now I picked up a little of each: titanium white, dioxazine purple, and my light blue violet. I'm going across the top of the canvas creating little scoops, and then I'm going to softly blend around. My goal is to create a sweepy looking background with soft clouds and not a ton of detail, but I want to have a little bit of that gray underpainting showing. Now I just used a little bit of black and white and covered up an older canvas. Gray underpainted primed canvases make for great backdrops for colors and landscapes, or just anything you want to paint. It's just something that galleries like to use for their walls as well. Gray is just, I can't really explain it. It just looks good with all the other colors. Just trust me and give it a try sometimes. So if you have older canvases and paintings you don't like, don't necessarily think you have to throw them out. You can cover them up with black paint or gray. Gray I find is the easiest and quickest to cover up older paintings with, and it looks really pretty with pastel colors, as you can see here in this painting tutorial today. So I'm just going to continue reloading my brush with more purple and blue, and I'm going to cut across just below the halfway mark of the canvas, and I'm pulling a line across, and then I'm gently going up and down to create an instant forest and just to have a little bit of shadow behind the lighter shades that we're going to be adding and the more detailed trees that we're going to be adding a little later on. Now I chose these colors today, this color palette, because I think these colors look really pretty together. They're very complementary. You've got the pastel blue and purple combined with the yellow and the orange and the white, which together makes a really pretty shade of peach. And on the color wheel, you can't beat this combo. It's just a very beautiful combination for complementary colors. So you can apply these colors, this combo, to any landscape or anything you want to paint. And I'm just going to come in and add a little bit of ground and the first base layer of the snow on either side. I'm leaving the center just gray for now. I'm going to cover that up and come in with my dioxazine purple and just a little bit of burnt sienna for our river. That I think really sets this painting off. A lot of people think that you have to have a lot of light in your river or creek or lakes, but in wintertime, they tend to look so dark. Well, not all the time, but against the snow, they look darker. So I think it just adds a nice punch to this painting and beautiful contrast. So now with a 1-inch mop brush, my brush is dry. I just went right into a little bit of white, orange, and yellow, and I'm going to start adding the light source, the main source of light here in the center of the canvas, and then just wiggle around with my brush. Really, you don't need a lot of technical ability for this or practice. All you're doing is just gently rubbing around, creating little circles, little scoops, and then I want to kind of just pull straight down gently right underneath where that brightest area is in the center, which is going to be our sun, of course. And then that's just going to be the beginning stages of some trees way back in the distance and the beautiful warm sunlight hitting them. So you can create a whole bunch of those tree trunks all at once by doing that, and you'll see in just a few minutes how I'll be applying that. And I'm just coming around now back over with my number 30 filbert brush to soften everything. So just give it a little bit of blending. There's no paint on my brush. I'm just using what I've got already on my canvas, which is a little bit wet still, plus the moisture in my brush from when I rinsed it out. If you have too much water on your brush, you will not be able to blend. You're going to be really frustrated and left with too many streaks on your canvas and possibly disrupting the paint layers underneath or removing them. So be careful with the amount of paint and water you have on your brush. It's not a certain amount that I can tell you to add. It comes with a lot of practice, but I will let you know if I'm using a little bit or a lot, and you can see how much I have when I'm loading my brush. So now I just added a little tap tap along either side to build up some snowy banks along the river. And then I pulled gently up and down right below our sun, like I mentioned earlier, to just start creating some more light effects and that warm sunlight hitting the trees in the background. I'm going to slowly come in. Now you can do this on if your paint underneath is wet or dry. If your paint is still wet and you're adding this layer like I am now, you're going to get a few other tones in there because it's going to pick up a little bit of that blue and purple underneath. And that's kind of nice. You may get a little bit of muddiness, but it's going to be a really soft, muddy tone. I hate that term muddy because it just makes it sound so awful and ugly, but muddy tones have such a bad rap. It's not bad to have some muddiness happen in a painting. And I mentioned that throughout my tutorials, so I don't want you guys to be scared. You'll just know when it works and when it doesn't, and you'll learn by experience. So practicing every day, each day you're practicing, every brush stroke you make, you're getting closer to reaching your goals of creating the painting that you've always wanted to. So with a little scoop over top, like half circles or half ovals, that's all I'm doing there down below. I'm not making everything even on either side, so it's a little more to the left or a little bit more to the right, and that's going to give you that flow and movement in your river. So it gives you a little bit more interest in your paintings when you don't make everything perfectly measured and equal on either side. So try to stay away from that. Try to be a little bit more random and a little bit more free and messy in your paintings. And that's like the biggest tip I have for all of you guys. If you're just tuning in now, just kind of relax and be okay with being a little bit messy and easygoing when you're painting. That's when you're going to loosen up and really get better at painting. I've got a number 10 flat brush now that I'm going to come in with just a little bit of water on my brush, but hardly any at all, because I want this to be really dark and rich and not see-through. So I've got more Dioxazine purple than the burnt sienna, just a little bit of burnt sienna in there. Adds a little bit of warmth to a cold winter painting. So it's nice to have a combination of both. When we think of winter, we're like, oh, a lot of people dread winter because it's so cold and dark. But I'm here to show you guys and remind you that winter can be so beautiful, all the colors and tones, and even a cold, icy river can have a little bit of warmth to it by just changing up your temperature and hue in the paint that you use, and by adding just a tiny bit of burnt sienna in there, that'll warm up your Dioxazine a little bit more. So wiggling and just adding that inside over top of the gray, coming kind of just right under those snowy banks and the edges of the water. So like I said, this just makes for a really nice contrast in this painting. It's a nice balance. We have so much softness going on that we need a little pop here and there of shadow and contrast. So by adding this in the river and the tree trunks, we're going to get that. And of course, in the little cabin that we have off to the right, or that we will be adding. And just taking a little bit more of my light blue violet now, I'm going to add a little bit of light in the distance, really far away there, or to make it look like it's far away. So just softening everything in the distance towards the center of the canvas is going to make everything in the foreground stand out more and be more detailed. So you really create that feeling of near and far by how much light and dark paint you're applying And adding a little bit of a foggy dry brush over stuff can help too. I've got quite a few tutorials out as of recent, really breaking it down and showing you step by step how to transform a painting and make it look super 3D just by that one tip. So make sure you guys don't miss out on those. Have a look through. It's a game changer. It's really going to make you enjoy painting even more when you can create effects like that. It's just so satisfying to do too. And you think when you look at people's paintings, these artist paintings, that wow, it must take them forever to do something like that. I'm here to show you guys it doesn't have to. I'm teaching you all the little tips, tricks, and hacks that I've learned over the last just about 20 or so, getting close to 30 years now actually, of teaching and painting and learning lots of easy tricks along the way. So hope you guys are enjoying all these tutorials, and if you are, be sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't. It's free, and you can leave a comment or a question below if you have one, and of course like and share this video so more and more people can learn to paint and just discover something they never knew they were able to do. And I believe in all of you guys. Let me tell you, you're all capable of doing more than you think you are. And I've got a long liner brush now, and I was just adding a little bit of soft highlights to the snow on either side. You can use more orange and yellow if you want. Always add a little bit of white in there though, otherwise you're going to get a different color that you're not going to like. So because blue and yellow will make green, though we're going to have a few little hints of turquoise in this painting, which you'll see later on. You really want to stay away from a strong green for this specific painting today. With my long liner brush, I'm making sure I go back and I add water. So you have to add water to your liner brushes in order to be able to pull that paint out and spread it around. So you can see every time I load my brush, I'm going back and I'm dunking my brush in the water. So I'm using more water with my liner brush than I do with any other brush and technique in this painting today. So that is going to save you a lot of aggravation. You have to know that liner brushes need a lot of water. A lot of people go back and think they need just more paint, and you're just going to be left with a globby mess instead of delicate looking branches. Water is the key, less pressure for those smaller, more delicate looking branches. And of course, where you want to have thicker branches and a tree trunk, you'll just apply a little bit more pressure. So just push a little bit harder to use the full width of your brush, or spread those bristles out to make it thicker. I hope that's making sense to you guys. And I'm just going to add a little bit of blue and purple here, along with a little bit of burnt sienna in my brush, and add some branches here that are kind of falling over the edge and leaning down towards the water. We'll be applying some snow over top of those in a little while. And I'll continue along, just adding some more branches and a few more trees. I'm going to pull one big one up right here. And again, pushing a little harder for a thicker area of the tree trunk, of course. And then I'm going to pull and wiggle, 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 using less and less pressure and concentrating more just on the very tip of my brush for the smallest branches. So this is when you can really take advantage of if you're feeling a little nervous, and we all get a little shaky sometimes when we're, worried about wrecking something in our painting. That's when your branches are going to look the best. So I always tell my students this, and I mention this in my paintings because I know I can just picture you guys. We all do it. Using a liner brush can really stress us out and make us nervous. So trust me, you can go ahead and shake all you want and wiggle while you're applying your branches. They're just going to look even better. So take advantage of that. Get your nerves out, your little nervous jitters out while you're using this liner brush. And then, of course, we're going to go over and add snow to all the branches. So you really don't have to worry about, trust me, guys, just relax. Try to enjoy the process and don't worry too much about how your branches look. They're going to look beautiful no matter what. Just think about all the trees and branches that you see. They're all different, crooked, wiggly. Some of them have so much character because of that. So just embrace it and go for it. I'm coming in now with straight blue violet for some other tree trunks in the distance. So we've got the really light colored ones, white tinted with yellow and peach, and now we've got the blue ones. Now I'm coming in with more of that light pale yellow. So by mixing a bit of titanium white, the yellow, we're going to get this soft buttery color, which is so pretty in this painting. This is one of my favorite parts of this painting. This combined with a dark purple water, and just again wiggling up and down, leaning trees. They don't have to be straight up and down. Let them curve over slightly, and then reapply some more highlights at the base, way at the back there in the distance. You can play up more on your orange or yellow if you like, but like I said before, make sure that you've got more white in your brush. You're just tinting your white with any one of these colors for the background. And as I add a little bit of light blue violet with my soft buttery yellow, I'm going to get a very soft shade, just a hint of a pale minty green that I think is really pretty, and another nice addition to this color palette today. So you can just, with all these colors here, make so many shades and hues. So experiment and have fun. And I also want to mention, we've got a Facebook group with well over 12,000 members. It's free to join, and a lot of you guys are wanting to share your versions that you've painted from watching my YouTube tutorials as well as Patreon. You can join that group and share away, and I love to see all of your paintings. So there's a link below where you can join their Facebook group as well as Patreon and have fun sharing all of your paintings. We've got a really great supportive group there, and you'll enjoy it. And adding a little bit of a highlight, frost, some snow, just very subtly along the tree trunk on the inside where the light would be hitting. So think of where that light would be hitting, right? If the light source is in the center, it's going to be hitting everything in front of it and the inside of each of those trees. Now I'm going to just carefully go along and add, well, I shouldn't say carefully after telling you guys that you can be really loose and shaky. I guess I want to say I'm being careful not to add white or my snow over top of all of the brown and purple. So the dark first base of our trees and our branches, you don't want to cover all that up. You just want to add a little bit of snow to those. So you still want to see the dark color first. Otherwise, you're going to be left with nothing. You won't be able to see the branches or the tree trunk. I've got a 1-inch oval mop brush now, and this one is a brand name. The other ones, a lot of the brushes I use are just like no name, or the company name has been covered up by my paint, but this one is an oval mop brush by Princeton. It's a really nice brush, and I recommend this one. You can get this online or many fine art stores. And I'm going to start coming in with the foliage and smaller branches in the background covered with snow and frosts. Very delicate looking. I love the texture of this brush. And no water, okay? So you make sure you don't get these mop brushes wet for this technique that we're applying right now. You want them to look soft, delicate, and puffy. And by just applying a little bit of paint to the end of them, and notice how I'm applying the paint, how I'm loading my brush. I'm tapping it very gently into the paint. So wiggle to mix up the color first, and then you want to tap, and you'll keep that nice shape that you want for getting that foliage look or the snow look. And I'm going to apply a little bit more orange sometimes, and sometimes a little bit more of the yellow. At times I'll be adding a little bit of blue, so you can just tint your white with, like I said, any of these colors and apply it to this painting today. Adding little highlights and little bringing up the height just a little bit. It's up to you how high you want to bring up your ground and snow on either side of the river. By scooping kind of up and rounding it and bringing it up, that's easily going to do it really quickly. It's super easy to create height along either side here. Or you can just keep it a little bit flatter if you want. It's up to you. You guys could apply this to so many things. So painting Christmas ornaments, just anything that you want to paint on. It makes for such a nice Christmas card or Christmas ornaments, and which reminds me, I've got some Christmas ornament painting tutorials coming up soon. Every year I add a few new ones. So if you guys are eagerly waiting, and I know you are because I keep getting messages and all of you guys are asking when I'm going to come out with my next hand-painted ornament tutorial. It's coming up soon, and I would love to paint this on one, but I'm going to simplify everything for you guys. I show you all the supplies we're using, which is all from the dollar store. So you can make and sell these ornaments. I have been for close to 20 years, and gift them, whatever, and make them on a dime. And you guys are going to love it. If you haven't seen them before, you're going to love making them. So I'm just starting to come in with more purple, more blue for my darker trees on either side. So everything's going to be have more contrast closer to us. So that's why I'm starting to apply more of the purple. And then I'll be coming in and adding the snowy highlights, just a little bit of a highlight by tinting those colors with some white. And I'm going to be using only mop brushes and possibly a filbert brush here and there for my treetops, because I personally love the softness, and I think it goes nicely with the soft palette that we're using today. These oval mop brushes are, you don't have to have a lot of talent to make your branches and treetops look like this. The brush does it for you. So they're fail proof. You're going to love it. You're going to want to paint so many trees with these brushes. I don't get paid by the company. I just love to share with you guys products that I enjoy and that have helped my students over the years. I don't have a link for these, but they're easy to find, okay? And if you want more advice on brushes or paints or canvas that I use, you can definitely ask down below in the comment section or on Patreon or Facebook. So I'm going over part of the branches, adding this white. This is going to dry a little bit darker. And towards the end of this video, once this is dry, I'll be applying a gloss or glaze filter with my cobalt blue. You won't need any special glazing medium for this. I do it simply just with a little bit of water in my brush, and you'll see how it comes together at the end. It works really well, and it saves you money. You don't need to get anything else to create a glaze. So if you have a glazing medium, you can apply that in with a cobalt blue later on. But if you don't have one, don't worry, you don't need it for this. So I'm just going to add a little bit here and there, a few taps, dots and dabs of this white, and come in with another brush and add a few more peachy tones, tinted white with a yellow and the orange, of course, to make those. And just really kind of go over everything and make it come out more and just build this painting up so it looks like a dreamy winter wonderland. I love creating what winter magic feels like to me and applying it onto the canvas. I think it's the best way I express myself is through art and painting. And if you guys are like me, you're going to really enjoy this video. So I want to know if you guys are painting along. Let me know down in the comments below. Here I've got another filbert brush, and this is by Lerman Decor, I believe. Now this one I did get a whole set of these with the green handles at Walmart in Canada. And I say in Canada because I know that it's different from what they sell between, countries. It can be different what you can get there, but you can always check online. These are under $20 and they're great brushes. The bristles don't fall out, so all the brushes I'm using, that is like a big thing for me. So nobody wants to be using a brush and dealing with bristles falling out onto the painting and the canvas, because that can wreck your painting and be really frustrating. So all these brushes are great. They hold up well. And just applying some snow here to the branches, guys, just with a little bit of white and some of the orange, some of the yellow, making those soft, warm, peachy tones. So again, I'm just applying it, and I'm using a filbert brush to apply it here because I want it to look soft and kind of rounded like snow does when it's just layered on top of something. And the filbert brush really helps to do that. Now, just quickly going over to my long liner brush just to pull out these branches a little bit more. I want to add a little bit of small details here on these branches, so just creating some smaller, more delicate looking branches. And then I'll take a scoop of white and add a little bit here and there to the other trees and along the tree trunk. Now I lost track of what I was talking about. Yeah, so the filbert brushes are nice to use because they have the rounded end to them. So by using a rounded end brush like that, like I said, it can do the work for you. You don't have to have a lot of talent and know a certain brush stroke. Some brushes just have that shape, and as soon as you tap it onto the canvas with the paint, you'll get that shape, and it's really, really fun. Now I have dried this painting off. I left out the section in the video of me drying it off for a few minutes, and just with a damp brush, so it's not dripping. My brush is not dripping. I didn't dunk it in the water. It's just a little bit wet, just from earlier when I washed it out. Just taking straight cobalt blue. This is transparent, this cobalt blue, so this makes for a great glaze filter. If you're using something, like if you're mixing white with it, it's not going to be as see-through as you want, but we don't want to add white at this point. We're trying to add shadows and bring out a vignette, or create a vignette. So vignette is, or ombre effect, darker on the outside and lighter in the center. Or you could do the reverse, but in this case, we're making the vignette around the outside. And that really helps create that light effect in the center as well. It's helping to create a focal point, center of interest, and draw our eyes into the center. With another, or just the same filbert brush I was using earlier, that number 10, I believe, I'm just taking a little bit of white and yellow, more on the white side though, just a very, very small amount of white paint, and adding that as a little bit of a hazy filter to make it look even softer in the background and farther away. Now I'm going to apply more of the orange, just a hint of yellow in there, mix it up, get it on the very tip of my brush, and start tapping in some more bushes and warm highlights from that sunlight. And I'm going to go around, just gently scumble around the sun and up into those clouds. Just a little wiggle here. So by adding just a little bit on the inside of the trees where it would be a bit warmer from that light, I don't want to go over the cobalt blue that we have on either side. However, I will be adding just a little bit of light blue violet over part of the branches a little bit later on. But I'm going to continue mixing up this peachy color here with the yellow, orange, and white. More on the orange side though. And just start tapping at the base of the trees and along either side. So I'm tapping, and I'm also gently pulling to create a soft slope and snowdrift kind of a look. I'm making it more patchy on the bottom right here, so that I'm left with some shadows on either side. So now that the paint has had a little time to settle and dry in the center, I'm going to reload my brush with titanium white and just a tiny bit of that neon yellow, and it's a cool neon yellow that I'm using, so it's a light hue, lemon yellow. And I'm going to retap another layer of branches in the background there. And then go around the sun. And down in the center. Okay, now that I've finished adding those soft buttery highlights, I'm going to wash that brush out and switch over to a narrow flat brush. So just kind of a longer brush, it's like a rectangle shape. You can use any brush that you feel comfortable with for this next step, but I want to start coming in with fence here. So just very loose, again, like the tree branches, you can be crooked. I want this to have more character to it and have an old leaning fence. So the fence post can go lean more to the left than to the right, and then get smaller and smaller and smaller, shorter little tiny lines for making it look farther away. And of course the ones closest to us in the foreground, to make them look like they're bigger and closer to us, just push a little bit harder, use a little bit more paint, in this case burnt sienna and that dioxazine purple. I'm going to go over to the right side and start adding my little cabin now. And just a triangle on top, square on the bottom, then a rectangle, and then diagonal for the roof. This is the base color that I'm going to be using, and then I'm going to add some a snowy rooftop and I'm using the same brush, I've just rinsed it out. So again, it's just a little flat brush here. I like using a flat brush when I'm working on buildings and structures that have more edges and straight edges to them. And it just really helps to create those lines, and then you can go over and soften them if you need to by applying some snow and making it look a little bit more wiggly and bumpy. And this also helps to create the character in the painting and make your fence look a little bit older. So the same colors that I used for the sky are what I'm going to be using to add the snow. So white tinted with yellow and orange. And remember, just little dabs to make it look farther away. They're closer together and they just kind of disappear. And then I'll add a little bridge, a little arch right here, super easy, just connect it over to the other side. And then I'll go into a little bit of blue violet, and I'm going to start the first layer of the snow on my roof. I'm leaving a little space for the chimney, as you can see. So just a little skinny rectangle or line there. And then I'm going to take a little bit of white and I'm going to add more over top. So we've got a cool shadow there of the light blue violet, and then a little bit brighter on top with the white. You can also tint your white and make the soft peachy color if you want. I think it would be more warm on the inside. Just the little line there, the roof line that I added though, that's where the sun would be hitting it. So this side wouldn't be as warm. It wouldn't get that sunlight. And then I just add a little bit of snow around the chimney, and I'll come in and add some smoke, which is going to be really easy. I'm just adding little dabs to make it look kind of like a log cabin, and then pulling across to make those little lines. And it's happening instantly and quickly like that with one stroke pretty much, because you can see the bristles in the brush are separating. So when that happens, then just go with it, and you can easily and very quickly add a little cabin like this, make it look really cozy by gently pulling and wiggling, very small and narrow at first at the right at the chimney where it starts, and then wiggle, making it bigger and bigger as it gets out more up towards the sky. I'm just adding a little bit of a shadow on the left side of the fence post, so just a little blue and purple little line that goes diagonally, and then I'm going to start adding a little wire here that connects, or a old board, whatever it is that connects the fence posts. So make sure that you make it wiggly so that it goes along and matches the rest of your wiggly old looking fence. So I'll do this, and then I'm going to add some snow. So I'll apply it the same way that I did to the fence post, again with a white tinted with a little bit of yellow and orange. I'm switching over to a number 2 round brush now, so I can add a few smaller details such as the windows in the house, and just by adding a little dot and dab here and there, we've got some windows. Don't over detail and think that you have to do all the trim on the window and too many lines and just overall too much detail, because you're not going to be able to see that. We just want to have a little indication, a few lines, a few colors, shadows and highlights, and that's all we need to know, because it's not right in our face in the foreground, so we're not going to see all those little details. That's something to really think about when you're working on your paintings, because I know us as beginners can overthink a lot of things and think everything in the painting needs to be in full detail. So I say just pick a few things that you want to have more in detail in the foreground, and the rest of the painting will look like it's a little bit more out of focus, and you'll have a nicer overall looking painting. Okay, so I'm just going to go over here and add the finishing touches to my fence. So just a little bit more snow. If you want, you can add some cooler shadows to your snow by applying the first base coat of your snow as the light blue violet or soft purple. That would look really pretty too. And then I'm going to come right underneath that roof line with purple, and that's really going to help to create a shadow. I'll add a little diagonal line just off the bottom of the chimney, and then I'll come in the rest of the roof line under that triangle peak and add just a little dot and dab, little lines here with a dark purple. That's really going to set off this cabin and make it look extra cozy by creating the warm light, inviting light in the windows. I'm going to continue using this little round brush, and I'm going to add a few more snow-covered stones in the water and a few more branches and snow-covered little branches here, always with the same colors. I'm not showing you my palette every time because it's repetitious, but it is the white tinted with any of the purple, blue, or yellow and orange. Now I want to concentrate on adding little lumpy half circles here, different sizes, and then wiggling out for a little bit of flatter areas of snow. But I want to concentrate on using more of my warm colors, the peach and the color that the peach and yellow make, because we already have so much blue and purple going on in this painting, and plus the light being in the middle, the center of this painting is going to be hitting everything in the more towards the center. So I want to just come right underneath this bridge and make it stand out a little bit more and make it look more 3D, like a 3D image, by applying purple right underneath the bridge. And then I'm going to come over top and make it a little bit bigger with some more white. I'm also going to add with a very clean brush, dry brush too, just straight titanium white, okay? So just a little dab right here, create a little circle by going around and around and around, smoothing out those edges, and that's really going to accent, make all the colors stand out even more. So now we can see a little bit more of, just had a little bit of a drip there. Now we can see more of the yellow, the soft peach, and a hint of that soft minty green color that I mentioned earlier, what happened when we mixed a bit of yellow, blue, and white together. I'm going to take just straight white now on my little filbert brush here, and this is my Lerman and Decor filbert brush, and I'm going to tap in a few brighter highlights on these trees back here in the distance. If you're a beginner and you're a little bit overwhelmed maybe by all these steps, you really don't have to do all these. This painting looked pretty like half an hour ago, so you can simplify it. Or, I mean, it's really not hard. The brush strokes we're using, what we're applying here is not difficult. I just know what you guys are capable of because I've taught classes like this for many, many years, and I love this. My favorite thing is surprising my students, and by the end of the class, they're so thrilled with what they've been able to accomplish, and they never ever would have taken on a painting like this had they not been shown the steps and been coached. So I'm here to tell you guys you can do it, but if at all you feel a little bit overwhelmed, just do a little bit at a time. Just do, the first half an hour of this painting, and come back to the rest later on, or leave it at any stage that you want it to be. But trust me, you guys are capable of more than you know. And I'm just going to apply a little bit more white here with my round brush. You can use a liner brush too if you want for any of these small details. I find a small round brush easier to control, especially for creating the little dots and dabs for the windows and for the tree trunk, just because it's a little bit thicker when we're adding the snow. I've got another one of my round 1-inch mop brushes here. This is actually a makeup brush, and I'll have a link below for them. They're awesome. They're all under $20. You get a whole set of them for $20, depending on if you're in Canada or the States. But I'm just going to add just my very last tap here of frosty blue branches, and then just a little hint of reflections in the water, but not a lot. I want to keep that deep, dark, rich color in the center. You could just use black if you wanted, but I think it's just so much better when you use a dark color or a few colors to make a really dark color. I can't explain it. It just adds more life to the painting. Once in a while, I'll use black, but if I can get away with it, I try not to. But just finishing up this painting now by adding the last few little dabs of color, little lines, highlights, and shadows, going underneath these little snow-covered rocks and adding a little line. Then you can just gently pull and flick down with either a flat brush, even a round brush, or a filbert brush for that snowy reflection in the water. So just whatever color that you used for your snow-covered rocks, or any of the colors that we've got around in this painting already, you can apply that for reflection in the water. Okay, one final color that I'm going to add is straight cobalt blue, a little bit of light blue violet, and dioxazine purple, and I'm going to add just a hint of it here and there Soft little wiggles, brush strokes, just a bit here and there. Such a gorgeous color. Again, the Cobalt, Light Blue Violet, and Dioxazine Purple. If you don't have these specific shades of blue and purple I'm using, your painting will look just as beautiful using whatever you've got, and I'm excited to see your version. Subscribe now if you haven't, share yours, and I can't wait to see it. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day. Bye!